Now, I'll be the first to say I haven't exactly been the biggest fan of Duolingo updates as of late, as most of the time it just involves them removing a feature that's pretty great and giving an IOU and two middle fingers, green owl style. That being said, recently, Duolingo have just come out with a series of updates that have been so incredibly monumental. They've returned so many features that were once loved and now actually new and improved that I feel like I had to talk about it, especially because these aren't the run-of-the-mill tweaks either. They aren't like little tiny updates. These are big. In fact, one of them is so large that that's the whole reason I'm making this video. It's going to be the first one I talk about because I got it this week. I looked at it and was like, oh my God, this feels like magic. I need to make a video about this. It fixes one of the main weaknesses that I've always said Duolingo has, especially over traditional methods. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Evan Edinger, the variety YouTuber that one week might upload a YouTube video that's more like a documentary on a housing crisis. And then the next week, you know, an update on the language learning app Duolingo. My subscribers like it old school here, so welcome aboard. Now, if you didn't know, I just hit my 8-year streak on Duolingo this past week, so I've been doing it for quite a while. I learned German through the app. I'm chugging along in Spanish. In fact, I just came back from a trip to Croatia in which I got to use my Spanish on some Argentinian tourists. Had a nice little conversation, big confidence boost, and I got to practice my German on the Austrian influence on the trip, and they said my German was sehr gut. More like gut genug. Anyway, I'm not really interested in wasting your time, so there will be some video chapters at the bottom of the video for those of you that like your information injected straight into your veins. For everyone else, hopefully if you stay tuned to the end, I'll be talking about some of the A/B tests I've uncovered that might be coming to your Duolingo app soon. So, biggest update first, video calls. What? Evan, are you trying to say that I can finally video call other Duolingo users in my league? I can finally tell Paul from Minnesota where he can shove it? Luckily not. However, the video calling feature involves AI, as you can imagine. You're actually talking to some of the Duolingo characters, but the latency is magical. You will be asked a question in your target language, you respond, and then they respond to your response in such a small amount of time. Like I said, I can only describe it as magic. And rather than just explain how this works, I'm now going to open up the app and show you. So depending on where you are in your path and what language you are learning, you might come across this little video camera icon. So we're gonna tap that. I do have the option to call or skip, so you don't have to do this, but boy, I do recommend it. So let's call right now and see what happens. All right. I mean, claro.
Hola.
Hola.
Tengo una pregunta. ¿Te gusta recibir regalos como para tu cumpleaños?
Claro que sí. ¿A quién no le gusta recibir regalos?
Exacto. ¿Qué tipo de regalos prefieres recibir?
Prefiero recibir regalos de efectivo. Yeah. I just like cash.
El efectivo siempre es útil. Bueno, tengo que irme. ¿Nos hablamos luego?
Sí. Hasta luego.
Hasta la próxima. Adiós.
Adios, adios. Okay, that was very fast. Now, some of you that are fluent in Spanish might come across and say, hey, you made some mistakes. Yeah, I'm learning here. And most people aren't gonna be on camera doing this. My gift was a very standard thing. I just said, I like getting cash. Like, that's nice. There was only 2 or 3 questions. However, what's interesting is that they respond to exactly what you were saying. I didn't want to edit there so that you could tell just how long of a gap there is, but I found that really, really fascinating. She responded quite quickly. Now, sadly, at this stage, it doesn't look like you can complete a video call again, so you can't do it again, you can't change your answers. I don't know why that is, but if I scroll down, I can see that there are another 2 video calls with Lily later on in the next part of the path, which means speaking and listening and responding is now an integral part of the Duolingo path. As you can probably tell, the level of Spanish that she and I used was pretty basic, about A1 in the CEFR, the Common European Framework of Reference of Languages, you know, the OG, and that's a bit weird considering that I'm in the B1 part of the path, towards the tail end of the B1. B1 is a bit more advanced than just simple, hi, my name is F. But as I'm someone that has actually been using AI programs like ChatGPT 4o for quite a bit now, I feel like from my experience with those, that's just because this is the second video call I've done. So even though I'm further in the tree, this is their first instance of hearing me actually respond to questions. And so maybe, especially because it is a learning AI, it will improve and maybe match my level of speaking. Maybe if it can detect I'm really weak in certain responses, it can then probe that a bit more. However, I genuinely find this a very, very, very exciting update. As I've always said, the main weakness of Duolingo is the lack of actual speaking. Not just like repeating things or saying things out loud, but listening, comprehending, and responding. That's a huge thing that you pretty much have to get from an outside source until now. That being said, despite me being the accidental Duolingo influencer, I am just a guy with an opinion, so I'd love to hear your thoughts if you think this is a really exciting thing, or if you're someone that's very much against the use of AI in these types of applications. I would like to hear from you. Whatever you put into my comment section, I will be sure to listen. But speaking of listening, the next Duolingo update we're talking about is indeed listening. Over the past few months, Duo have really been leaning hard into more listening-focused lessons. At first, it's been little things like trying to incentivize you to listen rather than read by giving you more XP if you choose to turn off the words and just listen to things like stories. So anyone that likes a little bit of extra XP, who doesn't? It's a good dopamine release. We'll try that out. And that's just one little aspect. By giving people the ability to opt in to listen, it allows us to feel like, hey, we're choosing to work on that weak part of our learning experience, and it helps us so that we're not overly relying on subtitles when we're watching media. We can just listen, especially because, you know, subtitles don't exist in the real world. Not yet. I believe that's coming in the Apple Vision 2. But they've implemented quite a few exercises where the text is hidden and you have to be able to repeat what is said just by hearing, which, yet again, is a step in the right direction of training your ear and not relying so much on just reading. Reading is obviously the strong point of Duolingo. It is so important that they're adding extra bits to focus on both speaking and listening. And all of these features don't quite add up for the loss of audio lessons that they took away last year, you know, without communicating it as such. But to be fair, now that they're integrating these type of audio lessons into the path, it means that it's not just for power users anymore who explore all the different parts of the path and understand, oh, this tab has different things here. It's now meant for everyone. And I do feel like that is actually a positive update. But another big update involving audio that's been slowly rolled out on Duo for the past 6 months or so involves animated characters giving a little podcast radio show type deal. First, they introduce themselves, they tell you, hey, here's some words that you should be listening out for, and then a caller calls into the program, talks about a specific topic, and they test you on your listening comprehension. You got Bea, you got Vikram. I really like the format. Obviously, Duo is trying to make use of their animation studio that they acquired recently, and I think it's a really good use case. I just think the format's good. Wow, who is he? He's being so positive. The biggest thing that I actually really like about this podcast feature is the people that call in aren't speaking slowly. At least with mine, they're speaking Spanish and whoa, muy rápido. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very fast, but it's satisfyingly challenging because that's how people speak natively in the language that I'm learning. And so I shouldn't be learning on turtle mode because I can't just go up to a place to get an empanada and push a turtle button on a guy and be like, oi, más lentamente, por favor. You know, he's gonna kick me out. Now, if you haven't seen any of these updates yet, it could just be that you're not far enough in the path to have unlocked them. It might be that they're for like more advanced learners at this point. So if you keep learning, you'll get them eventually. Or it could just be that they're not yet available for your target language. A lot of the updates with Duolingo usually start at Spanish or French, and then they trickle down. Sometimes they get to German, and then that's kind of usually where they stop. But sometimes the other languages get the big updates, so hopefully this is one of those cases. Now, one of the most annoying aspects of Duolingo that myself and many of my friends have been complaining about for ages has also finally been removed with this update. Thank the Lord. Thank Mr. Green Owl. And that was the unskippable animations in between lessons. You get 5 right, you get 10 right. You have to waste 10 seconds of your life just watching some stupid thing that you've seen 1,000 times. It's kind of like in Tears of the Kingdom, every time you get one of the orbs, it's like, oh, time to show you the spirits. I don't care. Skip, 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 skip. But at least you can skip in Zelda. You can't skip in Duolingo until now, when now you just get this nice little animation of Duo jumping up and he's out of shot. He pisses off where he belongs. I'm here to learn, okay? Not to watch your little kishy animation. Oh, hi, Evan, editor here. So while I was editing this, I was trying to get a good video of Duo doing his quick jump, and I couldn't seem to get it in the app. And that's when I realized I needed to give you another extra tip, which is if you go into the settings of the app, you probably don't go into the settings of this app very often, there is a feature where you can remove via a toggle the motivational messages. Now, if you're like me, you have no use for wasted time of an animation coming up being like, good job, you did 5 in a row. Thanks. Yeah, I don't need this. I've seen it probably, I don't know, 100,000 times. So just toggle that off if you want, or now that the animations are shorter, you can just leave it on if you like that little motivational boost. For me, I toggled it off. All right, back to Evan from a couple days ago. But actually, speaking of Kishi animations, they are actually trying to use that animation studio a lot more. And now, I don't know if you've seen these yet, but in my path, I get full-on little animations of 2 or so minutes long. I think I've had 4 so far, and they actually teach you some more niche stuff that the lessons actually don't do, sometimes involving grammar. I know, Duolingo and teaching grammar, but oftentimes they're just little cute things like, hey, did you know that the word aguacate means avocado, but depending on what part of the world you're in, that could be the wrong word. They teach you different things about dialects, how to make diminutives, actually useful things. And of course, they're really nicely animated, so that's fun. I don't necessarily need that, but it does make the app feel swish. I mean, there's production value there. It's quite nice. So I'm gonna give that yet again a big positive. There's a lot of good updates here. So now on to the A/B testing that I've noticed. It might be showing up on your app soon enough. Duolingo really does love A/B testing. If you don't know what that means, basically you might get a part of the app that nobody else has, and then they do some tests on you and you're like, wow, I love this feature. And then they take it away because you were just part of the test, and the test over. Thanks for your input, bye. Listen, the owl works in mysterious ways, so you'll never know who to thank. Who to thank? Lo siento. So first thing I've noticed in A/B testing is rather than receiving the standard 10 XP and then +5 if you get a lot of answers correct, I'm receiving 30 XP per lesson. That's a huge jump. And they also seem to be giving XP to me out like candy, like, oh, is it a Saturday? +5 XP. Is it happy hour? When is happy hour? We don't know, +5 XP. Did you speak? GG, a +5 XP. I mean, thanks, that does add up, especially when it comes to using a 2x multiplier. So if I actually spend like 15, 20 minutes on Duolingo for the day, I like rocket up to the top of the league. And I don't think that is a feature that everyone has. My girlfriend's family has it. I have it. I have some friends that are like, what do you mean? I only get 10 XP. There are some rumors that this could be due to how far along you are in the path. Maybe the more difficult lessons give you more, but from my experience, they're just giving me lots of XP. So maybe it's just because I'm in the B1 section. Who knows? But by far the coolest update that not many of you may have received involves Duolingo scores. I myself have not received this yet, so it turns out I am the B in A/B testing. B for bad mood now, man. B for boo. Give me the update. Or buo, which of course is owl in Spanish.
I was saying boo.
However, maybe that's the reason why I don't have it, because I'm learning Spanish, and from my research, it seems like this is currently being A/B tested on French learners. Now, I have tried switching into the French language on the app, but I have not been given a score. Bit annoying, so I've gotten some screen grabs from Heather and her family. So it seems the more lessons you complete, the higher your score. But what exactly is a score? It looks like it's kind of like the A1, A2, B1, so on framework, but with much smaller, easily digestible bites. So you can not only understand like what type of sentences you're able to speak at this point, but also you're able to get a better sense of progression, which in my opinion is still one of Duolingo's best aspects. Its biggest strength, being able to actually feel like you're progressing in the language. Clicking into About Your Score, we can see that levels are broken down into being able to communicate certain concepts effectively. Whether that be being able to answer simple questions in a score of like 10 to 20, or discussing movies, telling stories, talking about your hopes and dreams at score 70 to 90, meaning you can finally share your hopes and dreams that, you know, Duo brings back the discussion tab. They won't. So it's less a dream, more of a never-ending nightmare. But I digress. Updates aside, I do hope you're still enjoying language learning. I know it can get a bit overwhelming sometimes, given that a lot of people online are feeding off of your insecurities, telling you you're learning your language wrong, or that you have to learn another way, or buy their course, or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you're still enjoying yourself and you take the time to learn a bit of your language every day, regardless of how you do it, books, apps, movies, doesn't really matter, you will progress and you will get better. And most importantly, you'll want to do it because you're having fun with it. It's easy to make a lot of things these days feel like work when I think enough of us work quite enough. So my biggest tip going forward, as lame as it sounds, just have fun with it. And also, I mean, to subscribe, because I've got a new Duolingo video coming later this month that I've spent a long time on. So, I mean, it's a big tip. It's a big tip. Well, before I do my outro in Spanish, I wanted to take some time to thank today's video sponsor, NordVPN. If you didn't know, NordVPN is a virtual private network. Not just any virtual private network, it's literally the best. It's the fastest, it's got more servers than any other virtual private network, but how does that affect you at the end of the day? Well, let's just say you want to change to Japan to watch better anime. Well, now you can with a click of a button. ISPs like Block and a lot of nice websites these days that are just helpful, but they don't know what you're up to if you put all of your traffic through an encrypted tunnel, the fastest encrypted tunnel around. And with 24/7 customer support, why not just use nordvpn.com/Evan, especially because I've got this crazy good offer for you. If you sign up today at my link, link, nordvpn.com/Evan, you can get a huge discount on a 2-year plan. So thanks, Nord, for sponsoring. And without further ado, let's do my outro en español. Gracias otra vez por ver el video de hoy. Y como siempre, nos vemos el próximo domingo. Adiós, amigos, muchachos.
Gracias otra vez por ver el video de hoy. Y como siempre, nos vemos el próximo domingo. Adiós.
You speak Spanish. Now, I did have better lighting when I started because the sun was rimming me. Beautiful.